Good evening, and welcome to the celebration of the new Knight Management Center at Stanford University. My name is Tad Glothier, and I'm a member of the Stanford Business School class of 2002. I'll be your host this evening, and I'm honored to be a part of the celebration. Now, if you'll allow me to say it, live from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, welcome to First Night at Knight. This is exciting. The entire Stanford Graduate School of Business community is gathering right now in the tent behind me to celebrate the start of construction of the new Knight Management Center, the future home of graduate education in management and research at Stanford University. Now, I've been working in restaurant and real estate development since graduating from the GSB 6 years ago, and from what I've seen so far of this project, the scope of the project is enormous. This isn't just a single new building to replace the one so many of us know as GSB South. We're talking about 8 buildings around 3 quads. It will include a seminar room, smaller collaboration spaces, a great open-air dining facility, a 600-person lecture hall, a library, and a wonderful town square, which will be the focal point and meeting area of the new campus. In addition to all of that, since the school is starting from scratch, the complex is expected to achieve the highest rating possible for environmental sustainability from the U.S. Green Building Council, a Platinum LEED certification. Now, let's take a look inside the tent at the festivities that are getting started behind me. Last month, Dean Bob Jos, Provost John Etchemendy, and Phil Knight, MBA 1962, broke ground on this exciting project. Tonight, alumni, students, faculty, and staff are gathering on the site of the new campus for the first Knight Management Center event. To quote Stanford's first president, David Starr Jordan, "It is hallowed by no traditions, and it is hampered by none. Our finger posts all point to the future." The new campus, as I said, will be known as the Knight Management Center. Now, as a reminder, you can always come back to check on the latest progress of the development of the site on the website for the Knight Management Center. It's at www.gsb.stanford.edu/Knight Center. That's K-N-I-G-H-T. An easier way to do it, just go to the Stanford Business School homepage, click on the link for Knight Management Center. There are live webcams that will show you the progress of the construction, and you can also get the latest and greatest news about the project there. Now, we're very close to going into what's going to be an exciting event tonight, so let's take a look at some of the interviews you'll be seeing tonight.
What's so remarkable about the new campus is that the big ideas that gave rise to the physical structure of the new campus will have a dramatic impact, I think, on the big eyes that are generated within the campus.
A new campus is an essential prerequisite of this curriculum.
What role did the Stanford MBA program play, if at all, in all of this?
No, I mean, I think it's almost certainly true that if there was no Stanford Graduate School of Business, there'd be no Nike.
The campus is designed around what we call the town square, which has the highest traffic uses on the campus, so that it is really a crossroads and a destination.
One of the things that I think the building does very well, or the compound does very well, is that it brings us all together in the same way that the new curriculum is bringing us all together.
Graduate School of Business is really unique, I think, in all of these new precincts, in that it's the most residential scale. It has the finest grain of space to it. I think it's appropriate because one of the sort of key elements of the GSB is the strategic smallness.
I was happy to be able to be involved. Obviously, Stanford meant a lot to me, and it's really my hope that out there are a student or lots of students that come to Stanford and have it as transformative for them as it was for me.
The new campus will be located along Sarah Street, just a few blocks from the existing GSB campus and directly across the street from the Schwab Residential Center that was built in 1997. Now, the GSB has been very lucky to be able to carve out enough land and share space alongside other schools on the Stanford University campus. Many of you are probably curious, first off, about what the new campus will look like. In July, the Board of Trustees gave final approval for construction of the new GSB. Now, let's visit with Dan Rudolph, Dean of Operations at the GSB, who will give us a tour of the new campus.
It's going to be a brand new campus. It's going to be comprised of 7 primary buildings organized around a series of outdoor spaces. So let me just go ahead and start to show you what some of those spaces are. If you start right here in the middle of the campus, what you'll see is the town square, and that's really going to be the social heart of the campus. It'll be a little bit like the Birds Courtyard is here on the current GSB campus, and it's going to be an area where there's going to be a lot of student activity, a lot of meetings happening there, the place where people are going to find each other. So that's going to be a really critical space right in the heart of the campus. Behind that is going to be the Bass Center, and that's going to be where we'll have a number of student activities, the intellectual heart of the campus, the library will be in there, a number of breakout rooms and other places for the students to use. So those two are going to be closely related. On the side right here is going to be Arbuckle, the Arbuckle Dining Pavilion. So we'll be able to take that name with us into the new campus. And right here is going to be a beautiful indoor and outdoor dining center. You can sit inside or outside, and there'll be space for several hundred people to have lunch at the same time. Just moving then to the other side of that is another important outdoor space, which is going to be called the Community Court. And that space is going to be where a lot of alumni activities will happen on Alumni Weekend, or where students may also have large outdoor activities that they want to have happening on the campus. Starting across the front row here, fronting Sarah Street, are going to be 3 different buildings that will be similar in terms of having classrooms. These will be the main classroom buildings that we'll have on the new campus. Each one of them will hold a series of classrooms on the ground floor, and then above those classrooms will be staff offices. Right here is on the edge of the campus. This is our Arguello Way, where undergraduates will continue to go to and from the athletic field, so we expect a lot of traffic there. This is the Arguello building, and that's also going to be similar in that it will have classrooms on the ground floor and staff offices above. Over here is going to be the faculty office building, and that building is going to be above an underground parking garage. We're going to build 900 spaces underground to allow people, both visitors and staff and faculty, to park. And then you'll come up into this faculty office building area right here. There'll be 4 separate buildings that are going to be connected together, and that's where the faculty will be housed on the 2nd and 3rd floor. The first floor will be a series of seminar rooms and breakout rooms for use by the students. And in between the faculty office building and these Sarah buildings is going to be something we're calling the academic walk. It will be a series of outdoor spaces, both formal and informal, where people can get together and meet, sitting at tables in between classes when they have time to get together. And then finally back here at the back side of the campus is going to be what we're calling the Commons building. That's going to house the actual lunchroom and the auditorium for 600 people to sit in. So we'll be able to fit an entire MBA class in that auditorium. It'll be a 2-story space and really a beautiful brand new auditorium for use by Stanford Business School and the rest of the Stanford campus.
I'm joined now by Kathleen Cavanaugh, Associate Dean for Administration at the GSB and Head of the Night Management Center program. Kathleen, thank you for joining us.
Great to be here, Tad. It's a fun night.
It is. Tell us a little bit about the scope of the project. We're here, the ground was broken just a month or 2 ago, but we all know construction doesn't start the first day the ground is broken. How long has this been in development?
The GSB's been thinking about this project, Tad, I would say for a better part of 6 or 8 years. I mean, honestly, a lot of thinking has gone into when the school recognized back literally in about 2000, 2001, shortly after Dean Jos arrived, that it was running out of space. We started looking at opportunities around the current GSB campus to expand, even just not even adding a new building, but where within the campus that we were already, where we could add. And quite honestly, there were very little opportunities presented. I mean, because we've got the Oval on the one side, Memorial Auditorium on the other, Frost Amphitheater on the other. So ultimately, the GSB administration went to the Board of Trustees and said, what about looking for a site for us? And they looked off campus, they looked on campus, and ultimately the dean was very pleased when he was able to accept their recommendation to take this spot across the street from the Schwab Residential Center and think of it as a long-term project. So it's been in the works a long time.
That goes all the way back to when I was here as part of the class of 2002, and I think we can remember thinking, why don't they just knock the building down and build a new one? But you can't do that between June and September.
Indeed, you cannot.
Can you tell us a little bit about the spot we're sitting in today? We're in a parking lot, obviously, but there are big plans for this place. What's going to be built here?
Well, we've got a 12-acre site. We're here basically at the intersection of Sarah Street and Campus Drive, so kind of the eastern end of the core campus. And we've got Schwab Residential Center right here on our south side, and then the Maples Pavilion on our north side. So a great spot, high visibility. It's going to be terrific for the business school to have both the residential side and the learning side kind of together. We're building actually 360,000 square feet of kind of what we call usable area, and overall, I mean, we're going to build 400 and some thousand square feet of stuff. And then we've got, as I mentioned, the 12-acre site, lots of open area for people.
How is that in comparison to the existing site?
It's about a third, well, I mean, the overall area that we're occupying is about a third larger, so about 100,000 square feet more than what we currently have. Plus now we're adding a 900-car parking structure underground. So basically the parking lot we're on now is going underground, and then all the buildings will go on top.
Any other salient features of the site that jump out for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be terrific. I think you mentioned earlier the LEED Platinum status, so we've got high energy efficiency buildings with lots of windows that are opening, lots of natural light coming in. Everybody's going to have daylight and views, great outdoor spaces for sitting and learning outside, inside.
It sounds like a really neat building. We're going to hear later from the lead architect, Stan Bowles, Bora Architects, and really get into some of the details of the building. Tell us a little bit more about how the community at the GSB has helped shape this project. I understand you work with a task force.
That's right, many task forces actually. So we probably have more than 100 people involved around the school. I work with faculty, staff, students, alumni, and even the broader GSB or the broader Stanford community to get everyone's input. So that's kind of my all day long, everyday job, is to really kind of take everyone and get them to participate, help us understand what they want from an office space, a classroom space, a lunchroom space, breakout room spaces, all those, and then be sure to translate that well for the architects so that we're not keeping them from being creative, but we're harnessing their creativity to give us just what we need. So.
Sure, and we're going to be hearing from one of the other members of that force, Jake Kraft, later tonight.
Yep, so, that's the student input, very important.
Real quick, any features from the old campus that'll be carried over, crated over to the new?
Well, everyone loves the birds in the birds' courtyard, right? So we can't possibly leave that behind. Had to negotiate a little bit with the university art, the Cantor Art Museum, to make sure that they'd be happy with where we would put it and how we'll treat it. That certainly will come with us. There'll probably be some other things that people will recognize, but all that has yet to be finalized. We've been really working on the design, on the exterior, the interior, and all the landscape details will come probably in 2009.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thank you for taking the time, Kathleen.
Thanks, Ted.
When we come back, we'll be talking to Marie Mukini from the Sloan Master's Program, as well as Dean Robert Jos and Chairman and Founder of Nike, Phil Knight. We'll be right back.
.6 นะครับยินดีแล้วก็ดีใจที่เจอเพื่อนๆที่เมืองไทยนะครับก็ความคิดถึงไปถึงทุกคนนะครับรวมทั้งalumniที่ทุกคนนะครับครับสวัสดีครับสวัสดีครับ
Best wishes from Thailand. We wish we could be there with you, but this view is really truly amazing.
We're really excited about the new campus. Although it will be very far away, we'll be following it, and we're very proud of the GSB.
It's great to hear about the new campus. We all have very fond memories of the old building, but we're very excited about the new building. And since we're here in Egypt, we wish you the best from the new campus and hope that the new structure will last as long as this structure.
being part of the 09 class, the first class to experience the new curriculum at the GSB. I want to welcome the 2012 class, the first class to experience the new campus on the GSB. We're very excited about the new campus. Thank you.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this Friday evening. We're here at the first ever event on the site of what will become the new Knight Management Center for the Stanford Business School. Joining us now is Marie Mucchini. She's director of the Sloan Master's Program at the Graduate School of Business. Welcome, Marie.
Thanks, Ted.
My classmates and I have a special fondness for Marie. Not only were we in the class of 2002, the last class to be admitted by Marie when she was Dean of Admissions, but we also all remember her appearance in the annual GSB show where she literally stole the show. We were just reminiscing about that.
Chad, I still remember all the coaching you gave us, and remember the warm-up exercises with Charlie's Angels? I still remember that.
Absolutely. Now, Marie, what are you looking forward to with the new campus? There are going to be a lot of changes. What sticks out for you?
That's a good question. As you know, the Sloan program occupies the 4th floor of the GSB building, and it's a little isolating up there and isolated. In fact, I'm going to ask you, how many times did you actually travel up to the 4th floor?
All the time. Oh, I was up there daily.
Right.
Never.
Right, never. And many of the MBAs asked, so the building has a 4th floor?
Yeah.
And so while we like having our own space up there, I cannot wait for the new campus because it's going to give us the opportunity to get more integrated with the rest of the school. You know, more interactions with the MBAs, the PhDs, and you know, we're thought of as the best kept secret. Well, I want to share our secret with everybody. And I want people to get to know the Sloans for their experience. They have 10 years of experience, and the PhDs and the faculty to get to know them. They're just a great group of people.
That was a theme that was being talked about even when I was there in the class of 2002, and it sounds like structurally the new campus is being set up to help facilitate that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It sounds like the new campus will also be closer to the Schwab Residential Center and some of the other residences. Speaking from experience, that should prevent people from being late to class quite as often.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And given the fact that about 70% of our students live in Escondido, it's going to be on-time arrivals at class a lot more frequently. Yeah, I agree.
And for the married students and some of the Sloan students, I think that'll make a difference in terms of
convenience, and it's just going to be a great place, and we're looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Hopefully they should be able to visit with their families at lunches even.
Go home for lunch, right? Exactly.
Now, what about that cross-pollination? Let's talk about that a little bit more. That's become such a focal point of the new school. Will students have just a higher likelihood of kind of bumping into each other?
Exactly.
What are some of the parts of the new campus? How will that happen?
I love the new campus design because it really is going to bring people together more often. And I love those impromptu bump into people at lunch. And the GSB is all about learning. And the learning takes place in the classroom and a lot outside the classroom. And I am so excited for the bumping into each other piece. And it's also the students from across the street.
Right.
There's going to be this wonderful gateway into the GSB community.
Is the expectation higher that the rest of the university will come through the GSB campus or be a part of it more? Or is that part of the thinking?
I think it should be part of the thinking. I mean, one of the best things about the GSB is that we are part of this wonderfully large university called Stanford. And the cross-pollination, I think, is so important for a lot of different reasons.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing that myself. I want to thank you, Marie, for being with us. It's great to see you again.
You too. Thanks, Ted.
Still coming up, we're going to go back inside the tent to hear a special announcement, as well as hear Dean Robert Jos lead us in a toast to our new GSB home. Right now, we'll get a chance to see a conversation between Dean Jos and Nike founder and chairman Phil Knight, MBA 62. Phil Knight gave $105 million, expected to be the largest gift ever to a business school, to be the down payment on the new center.
I'm delighted that I'm here today with Phil Knight, the founder and chairman of Nike, and of course for whom our new academic home will be named. It's going to be a fantastic new campus with 8 buildings and 3 adjoining quadrangles. Phil was a 1962 graduate of our MBA program. He's here at the business school again. Welcome back, Phil Knight.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Now, a lot has happened since 1962. Phil, you
sure has
built and and led Nike. It's an amazing worldwide global company, $19 billion in sales, the leader in sports and fitness. As you look back on that and your entrepreneurship, your innovation, your global leadership and management, what role did the Stanford MBA program play, if at all, in all of this?
No. I mean, I think it's almost certainly true that if there was no Stanford Graduate School of Business, there'd be no Nike. That it was in the entrepreneurship class that Frank Schallenberger taught that I wrote the paper, which really was the equivalent of today's business plan, that really became the blueprint for Nike. And it was out of that I really had the courage and the enthusiasm to start this company that ultimately became Nike.
You mentioned Frank Schallenberger was the faculty member. I remember Frank very well. How was he in leading that class? What's your recollection of Frank as a faculty member?
Well, in a single word, he was inspirational. That he was really motivating, and he really got my own enthusiasm going. And one of the things I liked about him, that he would frequently give the class motto, which is the only time you must not fail is the last time you try. And it was to have the courage to try, and that if you failed, it wasn't necessarily something that was a black mark on you forever. You could go out and try again. And all of those things came together. His inspiration, obviously his own experiences with starting small companies, and the enthusiasm of the class in general, they all contributed mightily to my really having the confidence and enthusiasm to start this whole thing.
Now, when you left Stanford, you didn't just immediately start a company full-time. You took a while to get yourself there, as I recall.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that I had, during the course of the class, I'd written several Japanese shoe manufacturers about the possibility of importing shoes. I didn't get a single reply, but I did, on graduation, did go over there and made a contact with shoe manufacturer, and Ithaca Company Limited, and but it wasn't a direct leap to success. That it took 18 months to get samples and another 6 months to get an order in. So it was slow getting started. And in the meantime, I had to go to work. And I can remember I had just gotten married, and I said to my wife, I was in my second year of teaching at Portland State, and I said, if we crack $300,000 in sales this year, I'm going to go full time. And we hit 290, and I said, close enough.
And what year was that?
That would have been 1969.
Right, so 7 years after you left here. I think sometimes students feel, gee, I can write a business plan and start a company.
Well, it happens a lot faster these days, I think. But I know that the first year of sales were 1964, and we sold $8,000, and we made a $240 profit. So we managed expenses pretty well.
Pretty fantastic. No cash burn right away.
No, that's right.
Now, I remember very well in 1992 when the school honored you with the Arbuckle Award, which is the highest honor we can bestow upon an alum or a friend of the school. At the time, I was an alum, and I was in the audience when you talked. And one thing that came back to me about that talk, you made a very interesting observation that by then even sometimes people said to you, well, why do you work? You don't need to work. You were doing very well with Nike. And you made the observation, gee, nobody asked John Updike, why does he write? And nobody asked James DePriest, why do you conduct? And do you see artistic dimensions or analogies to being a business leader?
Totally. And I think that's one of the areas that I would say that society misunderstands. That I think management is really an art. I mean, obviously there's certain scientific principles and there's certain arithmetic formulas you can bring to it. But at the end of the day, managing people is an art. And I think it's as demanding and as artistic as writing and painting and the other arts, if you will. And so I think that there really is kind of a misunderstanding on how hard the art of management is, and the fact that it really is an art. And I think I look on my own people that I've looked up to, like Warren Buffett or Akio Morita, the founder of Sony. They obviously stated their companies long past any financial need for the contribution they were making to their company and to the world in general.
As you think about this campus, which is such a wonderful transformative event for the Stanford Business School. It really marks us in a new dimension of our leadership in management education, our role at Stanford University. What motivated you to want to help us with this campus?
Well, I think, first of all, the new campus is going to be sensational. I mean, I've just really kind of appreciated the scope of the whole thing today as I watch them tear down the old buildings and start to begin to dig holes. And I think it's really a tribute to you as dean and the deans that have preceded you. I can't think that Stanford has never had anything but a great dean in their business school. And this is really just a culmination of really the greatness. And I think that, I was happy to be able to be involved. Obviously, Stanford meant a lot to me, and it's really my hope that out there are a student or lots of students that come to Stanford and have it as transformative for them as it was for me.
You know, one of the things we always ask our students when they apply here, we want to know more about them, about what kind of people they are, their character, what matters to them. As you think about your business life, your personal life, how for our students would you define a life well lived?
Well, I think almost the most important thing is do something you enjoy. That's what's fulfilling. That was one of Frank Schallenberger's biggest, lessons. That if you're gonna start a small business or involved in a small business, there are going to be many, many dark hours, and if you don't really enjoy what you're doing, it says it has no chance. And I think, as again what somebody else said, that a great football coach, you can't tell the difference between his hobby and his business.
Well, Phil Knight, we welcome you back. We're very excited about today and the groundbreaking of the Knight Management Center, the home of the Stanford Business School. It's an enormous pleasure for me to be here today, and really quite emotional that the school obviously has meant so much in my life, and to be able to give back a little bit makes me feel really great. Mm-hmm. Well, it makes thousands of others feel really great too, and we thank you.
We'll be going back inside the tent to rejoin the celebration shortly. For those of you just joining us, we're here celebrating the first night at Knight, a celebration of the new Knight Management Center for the new Stanford Business School campus. Dean Jos is scheduled to lead us in a toast for the new campus momentarily, but right now I'm here with Dwayne Wadsworth, who is president of the Stanford Business School Alumni Association. Welcome, Dwayne.
Hi, Ted. How are you?
Dwayne is also a member of the Stanford Business School class of 1963. I'm a class of 2002. Put that in a little bit of perspective, a lot of things have changed since then. Dwayne, can you tell us a little bit about what it was like at the GSB back in the early 60s?
It was very interesting. I was in the Army in Fort Bliss, Texas, and I was 23, and I had a commission, ROTC commission. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Here I am getting out. And there was an article, I believe it was Business Week, that had Ernie Arbuckle on the cover. And I read it and I thought, I'll go to business school. So I came out and interviewed. And fortunately, the good times in the military hadn't destroyed all my brain cells. And so I was able to pass the graduate record.
That's fantastic. We're getting the sign now that they're ready to go inside the tent with a live performance. We're going to come back to Dwayne Wadsworth in just a few moments. Stay with us. Welcome back from the tent. We're here with Dwayne Wadsworth, president of the Stanford Business School Alumni Association. When we left, Dwayne was telling us a little bit about what it was like to be a student in 1962. And Dwayne, we also wanted to hear a little bit about what the buildings were like, what the facilities were like as a student in 1962.
We were in the quad, and I actually got here in 61.
In 61.
And of course, the present business school that's about to be blown away wasn't even built yet. So we had our classes all over the place, including a few buildings that still aren't there, like the physics tank.
So I had classes in the physics tank when I was a freshman here.
So you know what it's like.
I do. So there was no dedicated business school building per se, and then right then we got one.
But you don't miss what you don't know.
Yep.
And the point of a school is the quality of the teaching. And we had the Ted Krebs and the Alec Robichek and on and on and on, Bob Davis, Bob Katz. So none of us thought we were deprived by not having a building. We did not. So.
And many of us know Dean Ernie Arbuckle.
Absolutely. That's why I came here. And
any a quick recollection or two about Dean Ernie Arbuckle?
Well, he and his wife used to have us up to their house for sherry or whatever it was. I think it was Woodside. A couple of times a year. And he was just the warmest, sweetest guy in the world. And it just... a totally wonderful person. No surprise he was such a success in business and academia.
That's great. We've got a little bit more time. Another quick question or two. Any other favorite professors from back in the day? You mentioned a few of them. What was it that stood out to you about them?
Well, I spent my life in sales and marketing, and of course Bob Davis is one of my great heroes. Although I majored in finance, if that's the word, and Alex Robichek was my favorite professor in that area. And I just heard somebody ran in to Bob Katz, who was a lecturer here, and he was just an incredible guy. He really was. And Ted Krebs, of course, was a legend.
It's the teachers that make the place, and I think we all have teachers that touched us and that will give an impact on our lives for the future. We're going back inside the tent. We're getting a signal. We're about to raise our glasses in a toast led by Bob
Please,
Jos.
just for a few minutes here. I am delighted to welcome you to the future home of the Stanford GSB and to the first night at night celebration. My name is Dan Rudolph, and I'm an MBA from the class of 1981 and also the Senior Associate Dean of Operations here at the GSB. First of all, let me thank all of you for coming to help us celebrate this exciting and momentous occasion at Stanford, and greetings to all of you tuning in over the World Wide Web cast tonight. Before we begin our program, I would like to thank the people who put on this evening for us. I think you all know who you are, so thank you very much. And I would also like to especially thank the people who have worked so hard to bring us to this point on our new campus project, the Knight Management Center. Thank you to the GSB staff, Stanford University staff, faculty, students, and alumni, too numerous to name, who have worked over the past 5 years to get us to this point where we're breaking ground for the new Knight Management Center. And I would also like to thank Phil Knight and all of our wonderful and generous donors who have supported us financially on this project. So to kick off this part of the program, I'd like to put your attention to the short video to highlight what is great and special about the GSB. Okay, I'd like to get your attention, please. If I could have your attention, please. Now comes the important part. I'm going to introduce the dean, so if I could have your attention, please, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. I've had the great privilege and pleasure to work for Bob Jos for the past 8 years. Bob teaches a course on leadership every fall, a one-week-long second-year seminar where he teaches 15 lucky MBA students some of what he knows about leadership. After the course is over, Bob spends the remaining 51 weeks of the year being a leader for the GSB. Bob describes leadership as taking responsibility to change an organization for the better, and he has certainly done that for the Stanford GSB. Bob developed a new vision for the GSB and then worked tirelessly to make it happen. Bob's vision was for the GSB to play a greater role within Stanford University, to implement a new MBA curriculum with a greater focus on global issues and on leadership, and to build a brand new campus for the GSB where we could fully implement our innovative new curriculum. Bob has worked to hire the faculty we need to teach the new curriculum. He established a global center and a leadership center. He has worked with the president and the provost to better integrate the GSB with the university, and he has worked to raise the money we need to make his vision a reality. And of course, Bob has worked to help us get here tonight to celebrate the first night at night, a great milestone for the new GSB campus. I admire Bob for his tenacious serve and volley doubles game, but even more for his dedication to his job, his delegating supportive management style, and for his love of the Stanford GSB and Stanford University. It gives me great pleasure to turn the podium over to the 8th Dean of the Stanford Business School, Bob Jos.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Well, welcome to our first night at night. This really is an incredible evening. It marks the culmination of 5 years of hard work and planning by lots and lots of people in this room. And it's the first time we've had an event on the ground that will be our new business school campus right behind me, the Knight Management Center. You know, back in 1999 when I started in this role, I could never have imagined how much we would have accomplished through the incredible creativity and efforts of our faculty, our staff, our students, and especially our alumni that are gathered here today. I hope when people look back at this period, they will have said that this was a defining moment in the history of our school when we really launched the GSB to the future of management education in the 21st century. We will see over the course of the next 2 years, rising right behind me and in front of you, the physical infrastructure that'll be the buildings that'll make possible the attainment of the vision we have for ourselves. It's a curriculum and an education that will require different kinds of spaces for teaching and learning. We'll have the traditional case rooms, but we'll have seminar rooms, breakout rooms. We'll have an enlarged auditorium, large lecture room. We'll have wonderful spaces where students from the GSB as well as other parts of Stanford will come. We'll also have some fabulous public spaces. Our dining room, which are our dining hall, which will be still known as Arbuckle, I'm pleased to say. We'll have the public auditorium. We'll have outdoor spaces. It will be the place to come on the Stanford University campus. Meet me at the business school. That's what they'll say. I want to, at this time, just recognize a very special person who had such a large role in making this happen, and that's the founder and CEO of Nike, Phil Knight. Phil is a wonderful member of our class of 1962, and of course he made a big and amazing down payment of $105 million, the largest gift ever to any business school in the world.
And thanks to Phil's vision, it really allowed us to think big and create the kind of campus that will be sustainable, cohesive, and truly a lasting campus for the 21st century. So, in closing tonight, I just would like to, well, first of all, tell you when it's finished, there'll be about 360,000 square feet right behind me. It'll be the only business school in the world that's LEED Platinum in its certification from the U.S. Green Building Council. I think a wonderful leadership statement about Stanford and about our school. Now, the first building won't open until 2010, but this is the first night. And I'd like to ask you all to join me and raise your glasses in a toast to the people who got us here, you who've made this possible, our alumni, our staff, our faculty and students who've given us the guidance to make this happen. Here's to our future home at the Knight Management Center, to the GSB and its future. Thank you and enjoy.
Bob, stay right here just a second. Bob, can I... Ladies and gentlemen, can I get enough quiet here to say something nice about our dean? I'd like to do that if we can. I want to interrupt just long enough to say on behalf of my faculty and staff colleagues, I want to say that we could not celebrate the new Knight Center that Bob's been talking about and this phenomenal new campus that he's described without thanking Bob personally for all that he's done to make this possible. It's no overstatement to say that the entire campus project simply could not have happened without Bob's leadership as dean during the last 9 years. Only 8 deans have served the GSB in its 83-year-old history. While you are the 8th dean chronologically, Bob, in many ways you are the first. You are the first to be a Stanford MBA, PhD, and Sloan graduate all at once prior to becoming dean. You have almost enough Stanford diplomas to wallpaper a wall in your office. You are the first to have built the GSB endowment to $1 billion. Now, I want to point out that that was last week. You are the first to have received the largest single gift in the history of any business school, namely the $105 million LEED gift from Phil Knight for this campus. You are the first to preside over the construction of a LEED Platinum campus, the highest environmental rating possible for any new construction, and the only business school to have such a designation in America. You are the first to lead the business school into a large-scale collaboration with other schools in the university in the form of new joint degree programs with the School of Engineering, the School of Medicine, and Education. Never has the business school profile within the university been so respected. Suffice it to say, your years as dean, Bob, have been momentous for this school. And it's a place that looms large in the lives of all of us here. To use a phrase so popular with young people today, your leadership has been awesome. It's also made you a very busy fellow. We now have a 1.5-minute video that talks about what the dean does. Please watch the video.
Welcome back. We're here celebrating First Night at Night, dedicating the Center for Stanford's new Graduate School of Business campus. Dean Jos just announced in September that he would step down as dean at the end of this academic year, so June 2008. During his tenure, we've seen a lot of changes, and most notably, one of the biggest changes we've seen at the GSB during Dean Jos's tenure is a new curriculum for MBAs who started in 2007. I'm here with Jake Kraft, who is a member of that starting class. He came in the class of 2007. He's one of the first who's going to be graduating in 2009 to go through that new curriculum. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you.
Now, we've just had a toast to Dean Jos. Following that toast, let's talk a little bit about your perception of Dean Jos as a student and what some of your interactions with him have been like.
Sure. Well, I think Dean Jos has been amazing from a leadership perspective, both in terms of bringing through the new curriculum and the Knight Center. I mean, those are amazing accomplishments, and I think that style of leadership trickles down through the students, and we all recognize how amazing that is. Also, on the student level, he's been amazing in terms of staying in contact with the students. He sends us an email every quarter letting us know what's going on, and he doesn't have to do that. And he also makes time to have lunch with all the students and just listen to what we have to say. And you know, as a busy guy with a lot of things going on, I think everybody really appreciates that he's willing to spend time with us.
That certainly fits with my recollections of him as well from back in 2002, that it's not about him, it's about getting things done for the school and what's the best thing for the future of the school. Now, the new curriculum that Dean Jos brought in, it sounds like it emphasizes a few things. One of those is highly personal. It's got small seminars. It has a focus on leadership and actually getting more hands-on experience with leadership. And there's also a global component. Now, tell us a little bit about the global component. That's something that I kind of wish we had back in my day.
Sure. Well, every student has the opportunity and gets to take a trip somewhere in a country that they haven't lived before. So I was lucky enough to travel to Dubai and Egypt, where we met with top business and political leaders, got to understand what was going on the ground there, what business conditions were like. We even had the richest man in Egypt fly us out to his personal island on his personal jet. So amazing degree of exposure and experience and learning during those trips. Something that I think is hard to get on campus.
It is hard to get on campus, which is also why the Foam Committee takes a trip to Vegas every year. That's what we did in 2002, similar project. You're on an advisory committee that gives feedback about this new project, about the new management center. We've got just a little more time here. Can you tell us a little bit about your role in that committee and what that experience has been like?
Absolutely. I think the students here recognize that the GSB is not a two-year experience, it's a lifetime community. And so everyone is super excited to be able to contribute to the future of the school and the campus.
It sounds like it's not just about kind of getting to be a part of the process, but it's also about the future, about leaving a legacy.
That's right.
Now, let's hear from some other first-year students on the new curriculum, and also hear what some of the GSB faculty have to say about the new campus. When we come back, we'll have a chance to speak with Professor George Parker. And after this, we'll be right back.
Not only did we have opportunities to learn from our professors, but just the diversity from our students, I think, really came out in the way that the new curriculum was formatted. From the small CAT sections where we discussed everything from Google in China to literature, to working in leadership groups and leadership labs and trying to sort of explore interpersonal dynamics and getting a full set of feedback.
Don't stress too much about the academics. You know, we spent a lot of time in fall quarter sort of struggling with the rigors of the new curriculum, and while that was important, I felt that the most important times that I had fall quarter were in connecting with my classmates, and in retrospect, I wish I had done even more of that.
Some of the things that I felt have been very beneficial to me have been the leadership development program. We worked with leadership fellows in a leadership lab situation where we would pretend that we were in different situations in the business environment, and that helped build our interpersonal skills.
There's also just this real great sense of pride that you have being the first class in this new curriculum, and the international attention in the business community and beyond that Stanford is getting for doing some really innovative things in the curriculum, and just having this sense that you somehow are a part of that and are a part of making that better for next year.
I think the CAT writing course is a great idea. It's not always obvious in a business school environment, but writing and communicating in an effective way is really, really helpful in any business setting to being successful and to influencing others to adopt your recommendations. So I think that's a great class. And I love sort of the debate, raw debate between students that we often had in that class that is harder to simulate in a large classroom environment.
Well, just to remind you that we actually started programming this building before there was a new curriculum. So one of the things that I think the building does very well, or the compound does very well, is that it brings us all together in the same way that the new curriculum is bringing us all together. So I find that our ability to have very different kinds of classrooms, very different kinds of spaces, spaces that are sort of public, spaces that are more constrained or controlled, but we're all in the same area, and we haven't ever been all in the same area. Some of us have been in Littlefield, some of us have been in GSB South, some of us have been now in Knight, and so it's been a very attached sort of place. And a lot of us looking forward to seeing what it's like to actually have us all in one place that is designed for interaction.
There's significant amounts of research that show that big ideas come out of small environments. So if you have a set of individuals that are just, anywhere from about 5 to 15, 18 in number, the quality of the ideas that can come out of that smaller, intimate combination of people are bigger, more novel, more heterogeneous than the types of ideas that can come out of a larger format. And in that new campus, we have the ability to foster those smaller and intimate environments such that the ideas that come from those discussions, I think, will be bigger.
There are courses that actually are offered between GSB and other schools. There's a very innovative course, I think it's called Biomedical Innovation, by Stefano Zenios, which is offered between the medical school and the business school. Similarly, there are courses that are offered between the design school and the business school. And so what we want is we want to have close proximity to the rest of the campus. We must be an integral part of the rest of the campus, and that's what the new design has achieved for us.
Joining me now is someone many of the alumni watching will recognize. George Parker is the Dean Witter Distinguished Professor of Finance Emeritus. Welcome, Professor Parker.
Thank you.
I didn't mention this as we were chatting just before coming back, but I do have the distinct memory of losing approximately $17 in a game theory lab in my first quarter here at Stanford with you. And it's a lesson that stuck.
Oh, my goodness. That's scary to think people actually remembered things that went on in my class. I'll have to be more careful.
It's the lessons that you don't think are going to stick that do. 40 years ago, the GSB was moving from the quad to its first new dedicated building, GSB South. And at the time, Dean Arbuckle was also leaving the school. Now we've got Dean Jos leaving the school as the school's about to move to a new building as well. So there's a little similarity there. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the similarities are between Dean Arbuckle, a name many of us know, and Dean Jos?
Well, I knew Dean Arbuckle very well. He was the dean when I was in the MBA program in the class of 62 and in the PhD program in the class of 67. Bob Jos was in the PhD program class of 68. Bob and I knew each other very well at that time, and our friendship has continued all these years. And I can say without equivocation that if Dean Ernie Arbuckle knew that Bob Jos was the dean of the school and had been the dean of the school for the last 9 years, it would make him very, very pleased. Bob had a relationship with Ernie which was really quite close, and I think Ernie had a huge impact on Bob. And I think a lot of the things that Bob's brought to the school are things that he probably brought because he thinks back on what an outstanding dean Ernie was.
What are some of those things? What are some of Dean Jos's best qualities as a dean?
Well, one of them, I think, is that he's not only exceedingly smart intellectually and offers intellectual leadership for the school, but he's exceedingly versatile. He has what people today refer to as tremendous bandwidth. He can deal with all the various constituencies of the school in a really inspired way, and that includes the students and the faculty and the alumni and the rest of the university and the staff and all the various constituencies who make this place what it is. You know, at the end of the day, a university or a school is not about buildings, even though today we're celebrating one of the most magnificent new campuses that any school could have. But at the end of the day, every school is about people. It's the people who come to study and the people who teach and so forth.
Well, and on that note, it is those people who build the reputation of the school, who make the reputation. There has to be a certain amount of vision in the leadership of the school, and I think that comes from, my sense as a recent graduate and alum, is it comes from the deans and from the faculty. How would you say that the vision of the deans and the faculty has shaped the GSB?
Well, I think vision is the right word. It's a very participatory process around a university, and at a great business school like ours, the faculty's role is huge. One of the things the dean has to do, in addition to being a leader, is to being a tremendous listener and to have a great sensitivity for what the priorities of the faculty really are, in addition to having a great sensitivity to what the students expect from the school. And I think Ernie Arbuckle and Bob Jos and several of the other wonderful deans that the Stanford Business School has had have those qualities.
I certainly felt that when I was here as a student in 2002, that Dean Jos keeps in touch with that student population. Transitioning a bit into the alumni population, I know that you keep in touch with a lot of the alumni groups.
I do.
What is the importance, in your mind, of keeping that GSB alumni community tightly knit and staying in touch with them?
Well, the alumni are simply critical to what we do. They are our spokespeople. They are ambassadors for the school, for the experience that they had. They not only help the school in terms of its finances, which is critical, but they also are role models for prospective students who want to come here. Alumni are important in actually being employers of our graduates. It's all a wonderful symbiotic combination that turns into the Graduate School of Business community.
Thank you, Professor Parker, for taking the time to be with us here tonight. One of the biggest buzzes about the new campus is its focus on sustainability and its flexibility. We're going to hear more about that and be joined shortly by Professor Jane Woodward. We'll talk about the greening of the Stanford Business School when we come back.
The new campus will really be built as a shell. I consider an office building where you have kind of wide open spaces that you lease to tenants who bring their improvements. So we have wide column spacing and plenty of height on the ceilings so that the rooms can be reconfigured. And if business changes, you can tear out the interior walls and rebuild them to meet the needs of the future program.
With the long life of these new projects, it's very critical we seize these opportunities and assure that our new building and major building renovations are high performance and have that end game in mind, that ultimate sustainability goal of where we want to get to. And GSB in its pursuit of LEED Platinum is a great example in not only achieving those actual environmental benefits, but of providing strong leadership for Stanford, for the School of Business. It's a real icon and will be a real icon on campus.
We have about 8,000 truckloads of dirt that will eventually be moved off of the campus, but for the most part what we're trying to do is reuse the dirt. It's another part of being sustainable, and we have a couple of opportunities to do that. We're building an amphitheater at the end of the campus, which will create a special space at the end of the academic walk, and it will use up some of the dirt as well. In addition, we're trying to recontour the land a bit to make our campus fit in better with the grade of Sarah Street and Campus Drive. We're there at the intersection of two of the most important streets on campus.
Architecture and the buildings we live and work in influence our lives very deeply. Not only in terms of the aesthetic that they set, the feeling they give of the important work going on, the way they open up to enable collaboration, a critical issue. Geographical proximity and the ability to interact still matter. Yes, we've got a very virtual world, we've got great telecommunications, but it's face-to-face interactions, often that happen in a serendipitous fashion, are still critical to the way in which much of the great innovation takes place. And I think having this new campus will enable us to facilitate that further, not only among the GSB faculty and students, but more broadly with the rest of the university. Having a great place that we can share, that we can meet together, that we can use as a convening place, I think will play a significant role in enhancing that ability to interact. And like many great things, we probably can't predict what the most interesting innovations and the most interesting creative new ideas that will be born there, but they will be born there.
Welcome back. We're celebrating First Night at Night to mark the groundbreaking of the new home for the Stanford Business School, the Knight Management Center. There's always been a spirit of innovation at the Stanford GSB and a pride in taking a leadership role in position on campus and around the world. Joining me now is Professor Jane Woodward. She's a GSB alum and a consulting assistant professor at Stanford in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. That's a mouthful. Welcome, Professor Woodward.
Tad, it's great to be here with you. I'm here because I am tied to Stanford in many ways. As an alum, as a consulting faculty person, and I have the privilege of having served on the management board at the business school here too, which has been a privilege.
It's great to have you here, and I think the school is appreciative of having your participation in this project, because sustainability and its being environmentally conscious in the most advanced way possible is important to it. Talk a little bit about the importance of the GSB in particular taking that leadership role on campus in terms of sustainability.
So the good news is, for me, that's an easy question, because the short answer is, from my point of view, the business school is all about leadership. And Stanford is a leader as an institution, so I think all the academic departments, whether it's the law school, the business school, the medical school, the chemistry department, they all view themselves as leaders in their field. Yep. But it's at the business school that we teach leadership, and we really view ourselves as creating the leaders of enterprises. And when you get right down to it, when you look at building energy use in buildings, accounts for 50% of all of U.S. energy use. And who controls most buildings in our countries? It's CFOs and CEOs or investment managers who come to places like Stanford Business School. So the fact that we're taking this really powerful and important leadership position on a whole campus, it's not just a single building, on 8 buildings, a whole integrated campus, and saying, we're not only going to build, we're not going to only reach for sustainability, but we're going to go all the way to LEED Platinum, which is, the U.S. Green Building Council created the LEED standard and really set LEED Platinum as their maximum standard to reach for.
So I think there's sort of 3 levels. Is that right? LEED Silver, Gold, and Platinum.
There's a very basic level where you just get certified.
Just certified.
And then there's Silver, and then there's Gold, and then there's Platinum. And I think a lot of building professionals today who understand aspects of green buildings much more than a lot of the rest of us believe that it's from their perspective, it's not that hard to go to LEED Platinum. But I think for those of us that are catching up with the incredible innovations that have gone on, not just with building materials and building systems, but with the building planning process, which has a lot to do with getting a successful outcome, that it's not hard actually to achieve the LEED Platinum goal, as long as you have the leadership from the clients. And in this case, the business school is the client to say, we can do this. And so I'm just so excited, as was, George Parker was talking about the amazing leadership that Dean Jos has shown, that he has been the person at the right time when we have this campus, when a variety of people raised the opportunity of going for LEED Platinum. He demonstrated the leadership to grab that ball and say, we're going to do it. And that's just incredibly exciting to me.
That's great. Now, and being green, from a building perspective means one thing. What does it mean for the students? How will it benefit the students and faculty? How will they feel it? Where will it impact them directly?
This is such an important question, because I actually, personally, I'll just put it personally now with my Stanford hat on, have a little bit of sensitivity to kind of just being green. That's not enough. What's really driven the green building movement and the establishment of the LEED standard is the understanding that as we reach to green buildings, there's been actually a phenomenal amount of research been done that whether you're building a green Walmart or a green classroom or academic building or a green laboratory, a green laboratory versus a traditional laboratory, what everybody finds is that students learn better, workers are retained better, productivity rises, people are healthier. There's all these metrics that are phenomenal byproducts of having said we want to have a green. It's basically a green building is saying I want to have as exciting and productive and invigorating an indoor environment as I possibly can have for my constituents, whatever they are, or occupants of that building.
That's fantastic. I think it's going to be a great place for students and faculty to go to school. I want to thank you, Professor Woodward, and move on now to an interview we had an opportunity to do earlier this summer with Stan Bowles, principal of Bora Architects. Once again, it's been wonderful having you here, Professor Woodward, and we're going to go now to Stanford Bowles. We asked him how a sense of place can have an impact on the learning environment.
Well, the experience of attending school and teaching at Stanford has always been shaped by a very strong sense of place. It goes back to the original plan that was developed in 1888 by Olmsted and Coolidge, and it was based upon the planning principles of axial alignments and great quadrangles. And that sense of place was reinforced by how not only the planning principles, but also landscape and architectural design work together to create this backdrop for this wonderful education institution. So our goal, really, in creating the new campus for the GSB is to continue that same strategy, put a lot of emphasis on planning, landscape design, and architecture, and wed the results of those, coordinate the results of those together to create a new identity for the GSB and to create this sense of place that really serves as a backdrop for the GSB, creating its academic goals and realizing its mission. From the very beginning, we've really taken great pains to design a series of buildings that are very flexible. We aren't sort of going to cast in place concrete. We're going to long span steel structural systems. We're minimizing any structural obstruction into the floor plans of the buildings that would restrict how walls could be realigned in the future. We're going with underfloor distribution system of power and data and air and electrical service so that classrooms can be reconfigured. You can sort of literally transform a classroom from a tiered classroom to a flat floor classroom. You can change the seating arrangement and the seating capacity. You can rearrange offices and the relationship between offices and seminar rooms or offices and support staff. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the arrangement of space as well as the quality of space that you create. As new advancements are made in computer technology or distance communication and so forth, it's real easy to extend that new system through the underfloor system without sort of tearing out walls and creating a lot of damage even to the ceiling system or whatever, just by lifting up floor tiles and extending and pulling new wires. So it's a very flexible approach to sort of building, because it's such a changing context that education and all aspects of our life seem to find us in right now. Graduate School of Business is really unique, I think, in all of these new precincts, in that it's the most residential scale. It has the finest grain of space to it. And I think it's appropriate because one of the sort of key elements of the GSB is the strategic smallness, the sort of very intimate relationship between student and faculty, small class size, a lot of emphasis played on individuals collaborating with one another and with their faculty. So the sense of place that was desired was one that really fostered that and reinforced that sort of small-scale feeling, almost like a village, that people were working and studying and having a sense of community within. It's really interesting, and a great aspect of this project is that we're building on what's already created in with that sense of place at Schwab, which is, of course, a sort of a residential learning center. We're right across the street from Schwab, and we're going to sort of connect with Schwab in a lot of ways. It's a goal of the GSB that the campus address these issues. In fact, will be the first building on the Stanford campus that's actually going to get a LEED Platinum rating. And the LEED rating is a rating created by the U.S. Green Building Council, and it measures the sustainable performance of buildings. The very orientation of the buildings that are sort of narrow in the north-south dimension, the way that they are designed for ventilation and for shading of one another, the way that the exterior walls of the building are designed so that areas of glass are created, but that they are then shaded by their fenestration so that excessive heat gain isn't created. All these things are treated in an integrated fashion that allow the building complex, when it's completed, to consume 40% less energy than a standard program would achieve. We have a 75% reduction in the amount of potable water the building will use. 75% of all the rooms in the entire complex will be daylit. 70% of all the rooms will have views to the exterior. So it will be a really, I think, sort of not only beautiful environment, but a very sort of healthy environment.
Well, that's about all the time we have. I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening tonight to join us on this memorable evening as we celebrate the first event here at the site of what will be the future home of the Stanford Graduate School of Business, the Knight Management Center. Remember, if you want to keep up to date on the progress of the site, there's a website devoted specifically to the project. Go to the Stanford Business School homepage and click on the link for the Knight Management Center. The web address is www.gsb.stanford.edu/Knight Center, and that's KNIGHT Center. That website has live webcams as well as the full interviews with Dean Jos and Phil Knight. We'll leave you now with some images and sounds leading up to the new campus at the Stanford GSB. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tad Glothier. From all of us here at the Stanford Graduate School of Business, good night.
our commitment to educate the management leaders of tomorrow.
Real red letter day in the 83-year history of the Graduate School of Business at Stanford. We're doing it every year in every way, and we see that as a very important part of our mission.
It's interesting to be here looking behind me in this piece of virtual dirt down here. It's a great site for the Night Management Center and the GSB.
Lending us your shoe print.